There's like I told people like, hey, I'm going to talk to Jesse Smith. Like he's in a big group called Gentleman Jesse. Oh snap, Jesse! Like the sheer amount of people who seem to know you within the music scene and speak your name with that respect, that threw me like, huh? I gotta do some research on this guy, see what he's all about.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm into it.
You'll seem to dig it. Well, let's start with hold on. Get this all propped up real fast, Zach. I think if I lay you right here, that should do the trick just fine. All right. Get it? Opening up question. Yeah, obviously, Gentleman Jesse. This is is that the name of how you the Gentleman Jesse's official name?
Yeah. So there's been different, adding and his men to it, but it's just such a mouthful that I still have people that play with me, but I just call it Gentleman Jesse for the sake of being concise.
The sound of Gentleman Jesse, it's just based on what I've heard, it has a very distinctive and it's not my word for it, but everybody describes it and it works, a power pop kind of sound.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate that word, but most artists hate whatever word they're described as. So
that's why I
whatever.
had the discrepancy there.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common, but I just look at it as rock and roll music. But a lot of time people, if you say rock and roll music, well, they're like, well, what kind of rock and roll? And I'm just kind of like, old fashioned, I guess.
But the question I had was like, you were in earlier punk bands, and like the ones I had were the Carbonas, Cops, Game Blades. The sound was almost aggressively, for the sake of argument, we'll say aggressively sounded more punk as opposed to the Gentleman Jesse project. The question I had was, do you bring a different mindset into writing a punk song as opposed to not a punk song? Is it like a different mind?
Yeah, totally.
What is that? Could you describe that?
Punk songs. Yeah, oddly enough, I find pot helps with punk songs. I'm kind of an angry
I love that.
stone
Thank you for
guy.
giving me that, by the way.
For Gentleman Jesse stuff, I usually look at something that I feel is like a classic in a sort of sense, as sort of a blueprint, like you lost that loving feeling or something like that. Like I try to be sort of grandiose with it, and then that way, because of my lack of talent, it'll turn out, if I aim for like a just monumental song, it'll come out okay.
Have you always been a humble guy? I mean, that's some self-trashing right there, man.
Well, no, I'm a realist, I think. One thing that I never have been, like, as much as I enjoy music, I love music, but I also hate it too. I hate it just as much as I love. And so, and one thing I hate is people who are really precious about their art. Oh, I'm an artist, and oh, blah blah blah. It's like, boo fucking who. It's so there's a million people making music. There's more than a million people making music. There's it's nothing special.
Tens of billions.
To make music doesn't make you special.
Billy Corgan makes music. Hasn't made
he's
him
awful,
happier.
yeah. So yeah. What's happening?
Howdy.
How's it going?
You guys have anything to add? Feel free to jump in.
You're part of Gentleman Jesse as well?
No.
Oh, no.
I actually offered her the gig at one point, but
Then you took it back.
I took it back. I was yeah. I also thought it would be fun to have females in the band called And His Men too.
I kind of like that idea. I'm kind of glad I brought up the Billy Corgan thing. Is you bring up something I once read this somewhere. Like the problem with Billy Corgan is that he tries way too hard to make a classic record, and that's why people. And I never thought about that, but the way you explain like the difference between punk and writing more of a stuff for Gentleman Jesse is that there's almost that element of like you say the grandiose, like the Everly Brothers.
Yeah. I try to think on that level, and like I said, it usually comes out pretty okay if I do that.
I would really want to know what you grew up listening to. Like
listening to?
Yeah. Like, what did you listen to? Like as a teenager, I'd say.
Okay, well, teenager punk music.
It was just you're an angry little punk.
Yeah, definitely. I was a child of the '90s, so I would watch 120 Minutes or Headbangers Ball.
Oh.
And I was jaded enough as a early teenager to, I remember when Stone Temple Pilots came out, that I was like, huh, which one is this? Is this Pearl Jam or fucking
No way!
Alice in Chains? I can't,
I'm gonna lose coolness points.
So
I kind of like Stone Temple Pilots when they ever showed up in this video.
Issues.
Like I knew it was a ripoff. I knew it was a ripoff.
Yeah.
I always feel weird saying something's a ripoff. It's not like a band goes out of their way to think, hey, we're gonna rip off this sound. We want to be known as this. Everybody wants to be known as creating something.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that. I think some people go where the money is. So
It could be that too. Nice little, I guess, follow-up question here. With the, and I'm not gonna dwell into like any of the darkness, I guess, surrounding, I guess, your sophomore album with Joe and Jesse, Leaving Atlanta. I guess, without going into details, you once you left Atlanta, you had your reasons for leaving Atlanta.
I never did it. It was more of a. It was more of just like a sort of a mindset of just being like frustrated with, their situation. But it's also sort of like a classic rock and roll theme. They're Animals or Bruce Springsteen or whoever.
I read that the comparison, like Darkness on the Edge of Town.
Yeah, and it's just like I felt like what was going on with me personally, and I try not to write personal stuff too much. I've been with my wife for the entire Gentleman Jesse career, and so any heartache that I'm writing about in a song is totally fabricated or somebody else's experience. So like all that stuff is just sort of like, it's not. I don't feel like I have to experience something to write about it, or it might have been something that happened to me before that. But anyways, so any of that stuff is just not really there. But as far as I tried to take some of that, but also just like this classic theme of feeling like you're trapped in some sort of shithole and you needed to leave. And so that's what I wanted the record to be like.
That being said, I've always wondered this, I guess, just thinking about what ultimately keeps bringing you back to wanting to be part of the Atlanta music scene. Like, what's unique about this city and this scene? Because you could have set up shop anywhere, but you kept this scene in your heart. I feel sort of two ways about the Atlanta music scene, and it's very much, there's sort of as the city starts to or continues to grow, it's less of an issue. But there was a long time there where in order for anyone to take you serious locally, you had to break nationally, and breaking nationally was not a thing that Atlanta bands did until the mid 2000s, with the exception of whatever the Black Crowes or something like that. So I'll tell you, Athens is not Atlanta. Like,
no.
People seem to think like, oh yeah, lots of Georgia bands break.
Well, yeah, but you also forget that Athens bands don't break either. What was the last big band from Athens?
Probably Widespread Panic, and arguably they didn't really break.
Yeah, Neutral Milk Hotel maybe. It's
been a minute.
So it's been a minute, and then they, before that it was 19. So it was like, okay, so every 20 years somebody in Athens breaks. It's the same shit, So but
declare the Georgia rock scene dead. I'm not ready yet. But
nothing's dead. But I mean, but we're also talking about music industry, so it's all dead. Yeah, I mean, I think that, so there's that element of, it's sort of like a bunch of people trying to be big fish in a small pond. But on the flip side of it, a lot of people are really smart and none of that shit matters, and they have, they have a good bullshit detector and don't. So it's
you kind of have to have that to really succeed in this town.
Yeah, I think that, it's probably the same as any city where it's just like, oh, these are bands that really mean it, and there's the bands that are just trying to succeed.
Would you say that you've built some sort of local connections, like the people you love and
definitely
you support and they support you?
Absolutely.
So there's a part you do want to see, like sort of, you would love to see an Atlanta band break big again.
Yeah, I don't really care. If people make records and I can enjoy them, that's great. But as far as like what success, it's like having a success in the music industry. Okay, for one, it's not a lifetime game plan. It's like after it, like it's gonna fade away. It's no surprise that your career could be 6 years and then what do you do after that? You're not going to retire off your fucking shitty band because you put out a 7-inch or whatever. I
had a friend tell me, I was so surprised, Jeff Magnum was seen at a Walmart, and that blew my mind because I was young and I was convinced, everybody loves that record, he should be a millionaire by now. Not the case.
He's probably doing just fine. He probably just likes Walmart.
I want to believe he's more original than that. Like, you have a choice.
I mean, he might have needed some light bulbs or something, you know? I don't know. Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you a question about songwriting?
Sure.
The question I want to ask you is, like, you clearly put a lot of thought and energy into, like, your songwriting process, and like every song I heard off of Leaving Atlanta just seemed perfectly crafted. What I want to ask you is, when writing a song, how do you know when it's finished? Like, how do you know when to stop? Like, you think, bam, that's it, it's done, that's ready to go.
Well, it's usually I have the opposite issue, is that I usually will be like, okay, I worked on that, it's 3 minutes, hit the 3-minute mark, I'm done. And so, any sort of bells and whistles that go into it, are sort of, a lot of it's kind of like putting a puzzle together, because you'll hit something and it won't. You're like, okay, I know that this part, I want it to go into this part. It's not going naturally, so I have to figure out another part to make it work. And then, it's like you sort of like, it's like putting a puzzle together. You have to like, oh, this piece doesn't fit, I need to move it around or whatever until you figure it out. And then once it works from like a structural standpoint, then you have to play it and decide whether or not you actually like it.
I did.
So,
does the melody come first and then the lyrics, or vice versa? Depends.
Both. Either works. But yeah, there's I feel like the better song, the ones that stick out a little bit more, or like the catchier ones, so to speak, are the ones that I come up with a lyric first. And then that's like, if I do the lyric first, and then I can immediately take that lyric and then put a melody to it, and then go grab a guitar and figure out the chords for it, and try to make it a little bit more interesting if I can, and then work out from that way.
It's like, when you have that magical lyric and you think, bam, that needs a chord.
Like that's a song. Like if that, but some things work out with a chord progression first, and you're like, oh, I like this, and then you try to think of a melody on top of it, and then you put words into it. It's a pain in the ass both ways. I mean, it's just.
I was saying about like making sausages. You never want to see how a sausage gets made. You never want to know how a song gets written.
Yeah, I've made sausages before, so I can really relate to that.
Ooh, whoa, really?
Yeah.
Dude, you worked in like a meatpacking plant in Georgia,
no,
like South Georgia?
I did it for. I'm a restaurant guy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I own a restaurant. So
no shit. Feel free to plug it. What do you
It's called Kimball House, and it's in downtown Decatur. We've been open for 4 years, so that's why no one's heard from me in the past 4 years, is I've been busting my ass working.
I had a follow-up question about it. We're gonna get to that. I want to touch more on that, but that's really cool to know. I do want to know, now that you mentioned finding a lyric, I want to know, like, this is a hard question, I know, but do you have a favorite lyric of yours you think, like, no doubt, damn, that's magic?
Oh God. No, I don't really pat myself on the back too much. I mean, there's songs.
I'm noticing that about you. You really don't.
There's stuff that I'm proud of, and it's about 50% of the material that I like. As far as like a standout lyric, I'm just trying to get the job done, man.
Workman-like attitude. I like that.
If someone, you tell me what the best lyric is. I don't know.
I like that. I like that answer. I like that answer a lot. Switching gears just a little bit, because I decided to throw in a softball question. It's kind of a fun one to get the brain rolling. But first off, leading with this, do you believe in guilty pleasures? Because there's two camps on that. There's those who say like, no, man, if you like it, you like it.
If you like it, you like it. No. And that's something that I think people need to be better about. I think that they're like, there is. I think there is a hierarchy of art, and even within mediums, there is. I mean, whether you like it or not, there's highbrow and lowbrow art, where depending on what the scale is, or what the what I'm looking for. Depending on what, like when you're comparing things, you can say, compared to fucking I don't know, some fucking bullshit.
Like, you can draw
country,
a line between something
like,
that's good
yeah,
and sucks.
Yeah,
like, there's a line that exists.
Yeah, okay, like I do believe in guilty pleasures because there should be some element of guilt in it.
You meet a guy who's like really into Limp Bizkit, you're gonna tell him,
But but if they listen to whatever minimalist piano players and then they also like Limp Bizkit, I'm like, well, this guy fucking knows what he's talking about, and he can't help it, and he likes that, and it is a guilty pleasure. It is bad music. Like, there's no way. If you like, it's the same thing as like, okay, you can like McDonald's, but it's bad food. It is not good quality.
You almost want people to know, to be able to define it as a guilty pleasure.
And I feel like that if they don't do that, they're selling themselves short. It's like, oh, I'm such a free spirit. I like this music, and I don't care what you think. It's like, go fuck yourself. You know it's bad.
I love the McDonald's comparison. It's literally like basically going to McDonald's every day, and then just being unwilling to like expand, even address the possibility that something tastes better.
And it's definitely not healthy. So I mean, if you're like sitting there listening to Katy Perry all day long, do whatever the fuck you want, but like, you know, you should be able to identify that it is bad.
I do love me some Katy Perry.
And I feel the same thing about television or painting or fucking whatever. That if you can't identify it doesn't matter if it's entertaining or you like it, but you should be able to identify whether or not it's good or bad.
It's like you can like enjoy like stuff like The Wire, and then on a bad day, after a bad day at work, you can just go ahead and watch The Big Bang Theory again. Just let it soothe your mind a little.
Yeah, and I would debate that maybe even The Wire is bad even. But I love it.
I've never seen The Wire.
You should watch it.
I went with a comparison that sounded like almost everybody tells me it's a great show.
It is a great show.
And it's like the Citizen Kane of TV. Like almost every nerd I know is like, oh, dude, greatest television show ever written.
Yeah, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's a soap opera. You know what I mean? Like you can. I mean, it's the same thing with any Walking Dead or fucking whatever. It's all.
I just want to get to the season that's got Method Man because that's all I cared about.
I think he's in a lot of it. Yeah, he's
really?
in a lot of it. Yeah.
Sweet. Wu-Tang, man. Love those cats. Let's catch them. But that being said, with guilty pleasures, do you have an artist that you would establish as your guilty pleasure?
Yeah, I mean, I have tons of them. I like Rancid, for fuck's sake. I like.
I like Rancid too. I never thought of them as a guilty pleasure.
Oh, they're guilty.
They were cool.
Yeah, they're like good guilty. I don't know. I have tons of guilty pleasures. I don't know, but I don't like Taylor Swift.
Fair.
I don't think that. I don't know. I'm sure there's a million of them out there, but yeah, I don't know. You can name some, and I can tell you what I think about them.
Okay. I'll give you this one. 3 months ago, this is a true story. I learned that NoFX was not considered cool, and that blew my mind. I was convinced that they were cool.
No, they're not.
They're not at all. They really aren't.
No, yeah, it's pretty dorky.
I just thought, like, Fat Mike tells it like it is.
Yeah, I don't know that he does.
He's got the subtlety of an anvil.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think that counts as guilty. But I don't know. I mean, like, no, I don't like Beyonce.
Oh, I love her. I'll give you that.
Everybody but me. I don't know. I just like, it does. There's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing. None of the sounds appeal to me whatsoever.
I hear that's it. When no one's around, and nobody gets to judge you, what do you turn on? And you're like, yes, this song. Mine is the Mighty Mighty Bosstones, the impression that I get. Like,
that's a bad one.
I know, but it puts me in a good mood, okay? No one's around, I get to do me for a few minutes.
Okay. You know, here's the one that everybody loves to shit talk, and and the thing is that the sounds don't bother me as much as they probably should. They're hilarious, but it's the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I appreciate them on this level of like, yeah, you fucking like, they have so many hits, and you know all the fucking words just because you've been saturated with it somehow. And I don't hate them. I'm like, if the world didn't have the Red Hot Chili Peppers, it would be sort of like, oh man, that's a bummer. Like they
find one day like Red Hot Chili Peppers is no more.
Yeah, it's I don't really give a shit, but they did their thing. I mean, they're not gonna have another single. They haven't in a long time.
I hear them. I'm forced to wonder why them, of all the millions of acts that could have been big in the early '90s, why them? Because you're right, they're everywhere. And
Yeah.
I would feel sad if all that music didn't exist, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, they did a great job at being awful.
It's like we all loved it. We all say, "That's great, sir. Yes, please another." Like every
Yeah.
time.
Like, Under the Bridge, what a fucking monster song.
I don't care how many Rolling Stone articles put that as like the top 10 song or top 20. Like, it is a god awful song, and no matter how many times you write about it, it's still a bad song. But I'm like, hey, Under the Bridge is on. Yeah, I guess I'll listen to it. I'm not gonna
And then
turn
you
it
like
up.
know every fucking word and stuff like that, and it's like it makes you smile even though it's awful. Yeah, so Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's my answer. They're great.
Next question here. Dude, as I listened to like some of your work, like I think it was a live album. It was on Bandcamp, and it was some guy who was like recording a bunch of live shows, and I got to hear you guys sing, like do your thing live.
Pretty bad, huh?
No, dude, no, good. The question I had, no, you actually sound pretty great live, but you sounded like somebody I couldn't shake it in my head. Like, what does this remind me of? And I gotta ask you this question. I listened to you, and I get a strong, hardcore Elvis Costello impression. I want to know, was that ever anything intentional?
You know, like, no, well, I did rip off an album cover of his, so it's definitely in my mind. I don't, as far as like people, like being an influence, I don't really consider him that strong of an influence on what, like me making music. Other than maybe like when I first started being like, oh, I'm gonna try to make something that's like, I use my foundation in punk music that has something that's a little bit more universal. So like Tom Petty, Elvis Costello, Bruce Springsteen, like those were people that I was kind of being like, oh yeah, this is cool. And then the two big factors that I used as an influence were the early Beatles records and sort of like taking that and mixing it with like a Ramones beat.
I'd say like the I Want to Hold Your Hand era Beatles.
Oh yeah, Shaggy, Mop Top, fucking like Beatlemania, that shit, I love it.
Yeah, dude, but like while they were still touring and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy because most people say they got better. Like, I mean, it seems it's the safe opinion to say, oh, they got better with age. But those early songs are pretty good.
They're insanely good. Yeah, I mean, that's the, if there's other people who are doing the same kind of music that I am, and they want to figure out what my secret is I just bought a Beatles chord book, learned all the weird chords that they used, and then used it, basically expanded. You can go from using 3 chords to 15 chords, and then you all of a sudden have more to work with.
Snapped. Follow-up question then. I was doing the research on you, like once they told me I got a chance to interview you. I know that like leaving Atlanta, that came out in 2012. I guess I want you, the band, you all have been busy since then. I want to know, like, what have you been up to since then, and like the projects and everything else, and is there another Gentleman Jesse record like in the future?
Yeah, I started writing songs as soon as I could fathom writing songs after when we did Leaving Atlanta, we recorded 20 songs in one sitting, and we did it in my basement, and it was sort of like this really exhausting experience, especially I like the music that I make for the most part, but it's like to do that much, it's like eating nothing but cake, and especially when you're looking for like hook driven sort of pop rock music, it was like I was just like, oh my god. So
you overdosed on cake.
Yeah, I overdosed on cake. So I went into this like I only listened to, like, as a palate cleanser, I only listened to black metal for a year plus, and then
nice. Like a Mayhem, Dark Throne.
Yeah, all that shit, love it. And then so that slowly started affecting what I wanted to write. If that makes any sense, is that I was just like, I don't know if I can go back because I just don't know if I like it. And so I started like figuring out how I could write music that was not as sort of sugary and still work under the feel that I was doing. And so I've been working on stuff, and then there was a bunch of other projects that I started just to do something that was less, it didn't feel like it was so much work. So that's when Cops came along, and then and then I opened the restaurant. And then I started working for the past 3 years, very sporadically. I've been working with Great Cartwright from the Rating Sound, going up to Asheville and playing music with him and writing songs with him, and that's been really awesome. And I think he's a master. And so for him to show me some like tricks has been really good and like helps me be a little bit more thorough with what I'm doing. So I'm kind of at the point where I'm going to continue working on stuff with him, and then make another Gentleman Jesse record at some point too. But I'm a very busy person. I mean, I work a lot, and I have the restaurant, and so that's where I've been for the past 4 years, and it definitely takes up a lot of my time. And so it's more, it's definitely more of a labor of love now, and not like this thing that I feel like I have to do.
You make it something that you want to do and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious to know, like, what, like later on, like when you went. Oh, sorry, excuse me.
PBR.
Like when the ultimately like your next work comes out, I would love to hear like from those like black metal influences of yours to see what you end
It's
up
not
taking
going to show at all.
I don't know, even a little. Let me
you wouldn't
believe.
know
Let
it.
me believe, man.
There might be. There's probably going to be darker melodies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
tell
it's gonna be a
everybody,
little
there's a punk element to black metal. That,
Oh, fuck yeah,
That
it's punk as
hardcore
fuck.
kind of DIY, really unpolished sort of sound,
Yeah.
just aggression.
Yeah.
There's some fun to have in that all day long.
Certainly. And that's, I mean, I think that honestly, black metal is a huge influence on Atlanta's music scene.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, all the punk bands are.
I always thought sludge. Like that was the sound I'd always been hearing.
No, I mean, like Gigi King, Nurse. There's plenty of bands that are Uniform. All these bands are definitely influenced by black metal. I mean, it's there.
Astute. Got just 2 more questions and we'll wrap it up, my friend. Thank you again for your time.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. Let's see. Let's go with 2 more. Yeah, I just got 2 more. Yeah. This. I would like to know what is. Everybody gives me a different answer to this one. I want on yours. Know yours. What's your favorite part about performing live?
Performing live. Performing live is just a giant pain in the ass. And I didn't, I have to play guitar and then sing at the same time, and then that, there's a human element to singing. So if my body isn't in shape or whatever, if I'm ill, or if there's people smoking cigarettes all over the place or whatever, then you're at a disadvantage, and then you have to like think about what your hands are doing at the same time.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks. But I've been doing it long enough that I can kind of like. I can still do it, and it's really not that.
Would you say you
difficult.
prefer the studio process more, like the
No,
songwriting
absolutely
process?
not. That's maddening. None of it is very fun.
I want to know what drives you to keep doing it, because you're clearly good at it.
I don't know. It's like maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. The 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever that I'm actually playing, and that there's a response with an audience and all that stuff is super rewarding. I don't want to, sell that short. But I mean, there's also the like trying to organize 5 grown-up schedule, and then how's it going? That part sucks. And then trying to rehearse so you're ready for the show, and then you have to load a bunch of heavy shit there, and then all of it is a fucking pain.
You weren't kidding about being a realist. I actually love that about you.
And then,
I'm not getting any vague platitudes from you.
Yeah. So I mean, so anytime. That's why we only play like once a year right now. That might increase or it might stay the same. I don't know.
It's like if you don't perform that much, people lose their minds when they find that you're on a bill someplace.
Yeah,
like,
if they remember.
They do, believe me. From what I've gathered, people do remember.
We'll see. We'll find out today.
One last question, Phil. This is just a fun one here. Now, recently they put out the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees, the inductees, whatever.
Uh-huh.
If you could pick anybody, now, even if they've already been inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or they haven't yet, if you could induct somebody into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I'm talking like walk them up on stage, the speech, and then play a cover song of theirs, who would it be? Would it be anybody?
Yeah, it's like I want to give you a fun answer here, but I'm almost like, I don't really have much respect for any sort of like awards or sort of, like, here's where I'm not a fun guy again, is that like, oh, I've never been like, oh, that person really deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've always been like, yeah, fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Like, they made their money, they're fine. They don't really need any, like, fuck boys telling them when they just something, oh, you guys are important now, have fun.
So, then I would have to try to pick someone that I think, Martin Newell from Cleaners from Venus. He made cassette tapes, self-recorded and self-released cassette tapes in the 80s, and had a giant body of work, and is a really talented songwriter, and no one gives a fuck about him.
I probably should rephrase that, like in the sense of, like now because now you are the realist. Rephrasing it. If there's somebody, a musician out there you wish could get some more attention right now, who would it be?
Once again, I put no weight in attention. I'm an obscurist. I do my homework, and I find people that are talented that don't get the attention they deserve, but at the same time, it's like, does anyone really deserve any attention?
I love that about you, man. You. All right, I'm gonna go wrap this one up. Jesse, that's your real name, right?
Jesse Smith.
You've been like absolutely a treat and amazing.
I'm glad you feel that way.
I feel that way too. No, look, you get a lot of BS answers sometimes, but you're somebody, you're true as the day is long, and I kind of like that, man. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I try to be.
Hey, you going at 5:30, right?
5:30, 5:40, 5:50, something like that. Somewhere in there.
I'm gonna catch you guys. I can't. Yeah. I'm here with my roommate, just kind of hanging around today.
I'm ready to. I'm prepared.
Say what you
So I took it seriously. Yeah.
I absolutely appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you for not asking me how the band started.
Oops. You know what? You're gonna love this. I actually did a research like this morning. I'm talking
When you said you did research, I was like, thank fucking God.
I'm like this fucking morning. Part of that research was just Googling questions bands don't like being asked.
Yeah.
I just spent a good hour on that.
Nice. Yeah, I